Evening. Evening, everyone. I hope and trust you are well, and welcome to another session on web development. Yeah, I think we have a quorum and we can begin now. So last week we were introduced to HTML and the basic structure of a HTML web page. And this particular week we'll be diving deeper into that and just get to see and understand some advanced concepts in HTML on how you, as an aspiring developer, can use some of these elements to help you structure content, display data, and also collect user input. So that is what we are going to go through tonight and this day. So please open your Visual Studio Code editors. Open your Visual Studio Code editors. Today we will be going through lists, images, tables, and forms. Those are the 4 items we will be going through today and see how can we define and embed them on our web pages. So this will be a wholly practical session. It will be a wholly practical session. So first things first, create a file with the name index.html. Make sure you are using a new directory from what we used last week. It's a very good idea to arrange your work. Make sure you have arranged your work properly. So last week I was on week 1. Today I'm on week 2. Next week will be week 3, and so on and so forth. So before we can get to these 4 concepts, I would like someone to give us the basic structure of a web page, just the main bits, basic structure, just from on the chat box, Just give us a complete structure. Just give us a complete structure of a web page on the chat box very, very quickly. I'm sure you can do this. I need the actual code, not just you mentioning things. Yeah, so the actual code, yeah. So this is Simon and who? Samuel. Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I'll just use this. Thank you so much. Yeah, you've saved us a lot of time. So we do not type so much, but this is good. Thank you. Thank you. Let me just indent that piece of code. So thank you, Samuel. Thank you for that. Thank you also, Kelvin, Leon. Thank you everyone thank you everyone who sent pieces of code. Yeah, so sure what's up with my microphone. Let me try and have a look. This improves it. Okay.
I hope I'm much more audible. Try to change some settings here and there. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you for that. Okay, so we can proceed. So yeah, this is very good. So thank you for this. This is a basic structure of a web page. So you begin with your document declaration type, followed by your root element, the HTML, and then followed by the head section that contains information about your web page. And then finally, you have the body section, where you will get to list all the content that you want to be displayed. So today we are dealing with HTML, lists, images, tables, and forms. So what we have, we've defined as these four items. They will help you to structure content, display data, and also collect user input. So we'll begin with the first one, which is lists. We'll begin with the first one, which is lists. So I will do a H2 heading here, HTML lists. HTML list. So lists simply help you to organize content by grouping related data together, related items. You can group them together and they will form a list. That is the purpose of lists. That's the main purpose of lists. And there are three types of lists that we are going to look at. So I can do a subheading on level 3 on the headings. And the first one we are going to look at is ordered lists. The first one we are going to look at is ordered lists. So just as the name suggests, these types of lists are ordered, meaning that you can display items in a specific sequence, and it is usually numbered by default. You display items in a specific sequence, and the default is usually numbered. So how do you embed an ordered list? You use the tag OL. Use the tag OL. Use the tag OL. And for the different list items, we use the tag LI. We use the tag LI for the different list items. So for example, just from the chat box, let me see the last five. Let me see the last five chats. I'll just list your names here. So I have Alvin Mwangi. I have Lillian Mumbe. I have a Praise Ocheng from Simon Bugwa. I just list five people. Nevis Ngaruya. Yeah, that's a very unique name. Yeah, so, and found another one unique. Those are five already, yeah? Golden. Yeah, so I have my five items here, names of people. I have my five names of people here, and I have listed them using the ordered list. So we are going to launch this in a browser. Remember, we say there are different ways you can launch your page. Right from VS Code, you can either press F5 directly from your keyboard, or you can use the run and debug menu. There's a run and debug menu here, start debugging. That's a shortcut for F5. Or you can use the run and debug icon to your left. You can also use the live server option. Just right click on the file and open with live server. Or you can navigate to your file explorer, locate where your file is, double click on it, and then open it on your default browser. Okay, so those are the ways in which you can launch your file on a browser. Or there is the go live option at the very bottom. If it appears at the very bottom of your VS Code to the right, you can also use that to launch your file on a browser. So there we have our ordered list, the list of names that I've gotten from the charts, So that is how you can define an ordered list, a list that is ordered. And you can modify this list using two attributes. You can modify this list using two attributes. One is the type attribute. One is the type attribute. And this one's the attributes, we place them on the opening tag. These ones are always placed on the opening tag. So okay. The type attribute and the start attribute. So you can use either numerical values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or you can use alphabetical letters, A, B, C, D, or you can even use Roman literals. You know, the Roman literals that are used for counting. You can also use those ones. So let us try alphabetical, and then we can start from 10. What is the 10th alphabet? What is the 10th alphabet? So save that. And then as you can see, our numerical type has changed from numbering to alphabet. So we have JKLMN. You can even change this to Roman literals. You can change that to Roman literals. And once you save that, you can immediately see the changes on your list. So you can use these two attributes to modify the appearance of your ordered list. That is the type attribute, which changes the numbering style. So we've said you can either use numbers, alphabetical letters, or Roman numerals. And also you can modify the start. You can also modify the starting number, where it starts counting from. Okay, so you can simply define that depending on what you want to achieve. So let me see by a show of thumbs up. Let me see by a show of thumbs up on the chat if you've been able to successfully define an ordered list on your browser. Very, very good. Thank you, Jessica. Abby, Nicholas, Vincent, Alvin, James, Golibi, Gerald, Frederick. Very, very good. Congratulations. Nice. Done and dusted. Like a boat. Like a boss. Done and dusted. Very nice. Very nice. Good. So that is an ordered list. In the event that you want to display items in a specific sequence, then you use an ordered list. use an ordered list. We also have another type of list. This is an unordered list. The unordered list. So let us go back to VS Code. Here. An ordered list. An ordered list. So just as the name suggests, these ones they're not displayed in any specific sequence. And these ones use bullets. The items are displayed with bullet points. I'm sure we are all aware what bullet points are. If you've gone through any word processing software, then you are aware what bullets are. So to define an ordered list, we use the UL tag. We use the UL tag, and then for each list item, we use the LI tag. We use the LI tag for each list item. So let me see. What are you going to list? Let me go. List the last, once again, the last 5. And Kozo and Kosi have so that is 2, 3, 4, 5. Have Vivian, Sifa, have Natalie, Omar. Then I have Eugene. Eugene. Here. Okay. So me, I'm just listing people here today. You can select your own list. You can select your own list. Me, I will just list people. So that is my unordered list. So the difference between the two is one has a specific sequence. One has a specific sequence. The other one is only highlighted using bullet points. It is highlighted using bullet points. So you can actually see the difference between the two once you launch that in your browser. So that is the main difference between the two. And this one, we can also modify it using the type attribute. We can also modify it using the type attribute. You simply define which bullet style you want to use. So the default one is disk. The default one is disk. The one that has a black round shape, that is disk. That is the default one. Let's see how the circle looks like. Yeah, the circle is not shaded. This has a black outline. Yeah, so you can modify it using the type attribute. You can also do pictures, but that one is a bit more advanced. That one we will get to see when we will be delving into styling. For now, we are just doing basic HTML, okay? So for basic HTML, you can just play around with either disk, circle, or square. Those are the different types you can play around with when it comes to the unordered list. So let me see by a show of thumbs up who's been able to define an unordered list successfully and displayed it on a browser. Very good. Ridge, Dennis, Vivian, Abby, Tamara, Colin, Cedric, Sandra, Charity, Kelvin, Brian, Dennis. Very, very nice. Congratulations. That is good. Good, good, good. Very good job. It's so easy. Hey, Brian is saying, done. I'm a serious developer now. That is nice. That is nice. Good, 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 good. Very nice, very nice. You are getting there. You are getting there. You are getting there. Yeah, step by step, step by step. You definitely get to a serious developer very soon, very soon. Very, very, very soon. I have seen done and dusted is becoming a phrase in this class. Hey, like the bosses that you are. John is saying we are going to NASA soon for benchmarking. Ah, wow, wow, wow. That is good. It's good to have such an outlook. Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, so those are two types of lists that you can define. One is ordered, the other one is not, but they still perform the same function. They are simply displaying a group of related items, a group of related items. The last list that we are going to look at. Okay. Please, I need to concentrate. Okay. The last type of list that we are going to look at is definition lists. Definition lists. So I'll do another heading here. Sorry. Do another heading here. And this is definition lists. So just as the name suggests, definition lists are used to define terms. They display terms and give their descriptions. That is the purpose of definition lists. They define terms and give their description. And how do you do that? So we wrap everything in a DL tag. We wrap everything in a DL tag. DL stands for definition list. And we wrap our term in a DT tag. We wrap our term in a DT tag, that is definition term, and we give our description using the DD tag, definition description, definition description. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with that one. What is the definition for that? What is the definition for that? The description. What is the definition for that? Hey, someone should have posted by now. Are you Googling? Eh? Are you Googling? Thank you, Andrew. This is the Federal Bureau. Federal Bureau. Hey, how do you spell bureau? Investigations. Federal Bureau of Investigations. Can do another one. Let me just copy that. Let us go back to class. What is HTML? What is HTML? What is HTML? Is HTML hypertext markup language? Hypertext markup language. Let us do one final one. Can someone give me a final one? One that is global. No, don't mention something that is uh, that is yeah, let us do SQL. Let us do SQL. You can put up your own. What does SQL stand for? You can put up your own structured query language. Thank you, Emmanuel. Structured query language. Very, very nice. So this is how you would define definition lists. You can save that and we can go back to our browser. You can save that and you can go back to our browser. So you see the different types of lists have different structures and formats. They have different structures and formats. But unlike the previous two, this definition list cannot be altered. Its format and structure cannot be altered directly through HTML attributes. So this one, if you need to alter this, you have to go into modern styling techniques. So we are not yet there yet. So this one, we will leave it as is. We will leave that as is for now. When we get to styling, we will definitely look at how you can style the different HTML elements. So yes, I will definitely repeat definition lists. So definition lists, we have defined them as lists used to display terms and their descriptions. So we define a definition list by the tag DL. We define a definition list by the tag DL, and that one is a normal HTML tag. It has an opening and a closing tag. And then DT stands for definition term. Definition term. Definition term. Definition term. Yeah. DT stands for definition term, while DD stands for definition description. Definition description. So DT, you give the term or the abbreviation. You give the term or the abbreviation, and then DD, you give the description of the term you've just given. As simple as that. And as you can see, they are all wrapped within the DL tag. Yeah, Cedric, lowercase. HTML elements and tags are defined in lowercase. Of course, HTML is not case sensitive, but recommended best practice while using the HTML language is lowercase, except for keywords like doctype. Doctype is a keyword. That one, we use it in capital letters. Otherwise, all other elements are defined in lowercase. Okay. So I think we are done with definition lists and all the types of lists. Anyone who's not been able to, you can post your query or question on the chat box. Otherwise, we can move to images. If there is no question surrounding what we've gone through just now. Someone Colleen is asking, what's the difference between HTML and HTM? Basically, there's no difference. There's really no difference between HTM and HTML. They both represent files written in the HTML markup language. I'm not sure why the differentiation, but there is really not much difference. Maybe you can find out why it is so, but they are just identical. It is a preference for, if you load them on a browser, they will still display the same way. There's not much difference between the two, okay? Not much difference between the two. Yeah, so that is our list. That is our list. So we can head over to images, eh? We can head over to images. HTML. Let me put this HTML so that people do not start getting ideas. HTML is just, we discussed this last week. HTML is just a way of structuring your web page. How will your web page be structured? When it comes to the actual styling and layouts, then we will be crossing over into an entirely different topic. So we're just structuring for now, seeing how we can achieve some of these things, and then we'll style them later. Then we will style them later. Yes, definitely. So images. I'm sure we're all aware of about images. They bring about some visual impact on your web pages. And as they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So how do we actually embed these images on our web pages? How do we do that in order to improve the visual appeal and usability of our websites? So before we can do that, I want you to locate an image on your computer, on your local machine. Locate an image, copy it, locate an image, copy it, and place it locate an image and place it within your directory, the directory we're working out of right now. Locate an image and place it there. So let me just locate mine right now. Just locate an image, place it on your directory, the one we are working out of. Images that are not used. It's disappointing. Yeah, this one. So I've located my image, any type of image, be it a PNG, a GIF, a JPEG, any type of image. Let's locate an image, copy it to your directory. I have mine there. That is mine. This is my image. Yeah, any image that you can find. Any image that you can find. So how do you embed an image on your web page? To do that, we use the image tag. We use the image tag denoted by IMG. IMG represents an image tag. And this one is used to embed an image on your web page. And we are going to use a very specific and special attribute to embed that image, and that is the source attribute denoted by SRC. So this source attribute, this specifies or defines the location of the image that you want to display. It specifies or defines the location of the image that you want to display. So if you've copied an image to the directory you are working out of, then you can simply call up that image using its name directly. You do not have to put any file URL paths. You can just call up that image directly, reference it directly. And after doing that, we need another attribute. This is called the alternative text attribute. This is also very important because this is the text that will be displayed in the event that your image is missing, or for reasons best known to internet issues, your image cannot be displayed. So this will be the text that will be displayed in place of that missing image. So mine is a, what are these now? Okay, you can call these electrical wires. So image of electrical wires. So you can describe your image, just describe your image, whatever is displayed there, describe that image. I will save my file and then go back to my browser. If you can see, my image is very, very large. I have zoomed in to the least, that is 25%. That's when you can see the entire image. So my image is very, very large. There is a remedy for that. There is a remedy for that. We can add width and height attributes. Height and width attributes. So these ones are used to resize images. If your image is small, you can increase the size. If it is very large, you can reduce the size. So I can do 600 by 600. Save that, go back to my browser. Now I can comfortably reset this. And now you can comfortably see the entire image without having to zoom in. Without having to zoom in. Okay? Yeah. So that is how you would display an image on your web page by using the image tag and the source attribute. By just using this source attribute, you'll be able to display an image on your web page. And that is for an internal image. That is for an internal image. If you are unable to copy an image, since you are working out of your local machine, you can simply right-click on an image on your local machine and get the file URL path. Just get the file path, copy that, and then you can paste it here under the source attribute, and that file will also be displayed on your web browser once you launch your web page. So that is how you can display an internal image. That is how you can display an internal image. You can also display an image that resides outside of your local development machine. So let me just copy this. Copy that. Remove that. So we can go to our browsers, go to your browsers, visit this site, pexels.com. You can go to your browsers, visit that site, pexels.com. Go to your browsers, visit that site, pexels.com, and we are going to fetch an image from there. We're going to fetch an image from there, pexels.com. We are going to fetch an image from here. So if you find yourself in need of copyright-free images, you can come to this website. You'll get free photos right from here. So any photo that you'd want to use, look for one that is good. So any image. Let me take this one. So I've identified this one. I will simply right-click on this and copy the image address. Right-click on the image and copy the image address. And that is the address I am going to paste under the source attribute. That is the address I'm going to paste under the source attribute. Save my file. And when I go back to the browser, the image should be displayed there. Let me just zoom in kidogo. And that is our image displayed there. That is our image displayed there, our second image. So you can use that source attribute to either display images that reside locally on your development machine or images that reside externally on another website. Just make sure any images that you are using are copyright free. Make sure any images that you're using are copyright free. You do not want to infringe on anyone's copyright rights. That one is a very, very serious offense. Somebody can sue you for a lot of money because you've used their image without their permission. So any issue around that, you can just let me know on the chat box. And also, if you've been able to display an image on your web page, please show me by a show of thumbs up. And my screen was not working. Apologies for that. Let me just paste this code for you. Let me paste this code for you on the chat box. Apologies for that. I haven't copied it all. Let me close my... Apologies for that. But I'm sure you followed through, even if I was just speaking. I'm sure you followed through and you've been able to display an image. Let me see how many have been able to. Isaac, Kibet, Stanley, Jennifer, Godswill, Jesse, Fidel. Good stuff. Yeah, so the attributes that are compulsory when you are displaying an image is the source attribute and the alt attribute. Those ones are very, very important because we've said alt is used when your image does not display. So for example, let's say I misspelled the image name for the first image. If I misspell the image name for the first image, this is what will be displayed. Because the image cannot be found. This is what will be displayed. You have an icon for a missing image and then the actual text describing the image. So alternative text is very, very important in as much as source is the main attribute that you would use to display an image. Width and height attributes are optional. They are optional. Yeah, they are optional. You can either use them or not, depending on what you want to achieve. Remember, you will be the one who is designing and developing a web page. So based on your designs, do you want to modify the size of an image? Then you can use the width and the height attribute to do so. So those ones are optional. As we advance, that is next week when we'll be getting into styling. We will see how you can actually modify an image size by using modern styling techniques, not just only relying on HTML. So we'll get to see that. So width, height, optional. Source, alternate text, very important. Yeah, okay. Very good. Very, very good. Very good. So I think we're done with the image. I think we're done with images. I think we are done with images. So you've seen how you can embed an image. And I believe you have done so practically yourselves. Good, 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 good. Then we can move to the next element. We can move to the next element, and that is tables. We can move to the next element, that is HTML tables. Don't worry, I'll share this entire code base at the end of this session so that you can have a place to reference. Okay, so next is HTML tables. So tables are simply used to display structured data. And these ones are displayed in rows and columns. That is simply what a table does. So if you have any tabulated data and you want to display it on a web page, then you would use the table tag. You would use the table tag to do so. And while using the table tag, there are three distinct sections. There's three distinct sections on a table. You have the table head. You have the table head, which appears at the top. You have the table body, which appears on the middle. And finally, you have the table foot, which usually appears at the bottom of the table. So on the table head, each line item is first defined as a table row. And we all know what a row is. It spans from, or it runs from the left to the right across. That is what we refer to as a table. And that one is denoted by TR. TR represents a table row. TR is for 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 table row. And within the table row that is within the head section, you list your table headings or table titles for the columns using the TH tag. TH is simply a short form for table head or table header. So we can let's do we can do a table for exam results. We can do a table for exam results. Okay, so we can have name. We copy. We'll do 5 subjects. Can have name, your mark in English, say geography, no math, hey, math, science, geography, and history. Yeah. So these ones will represent our columns, the titles on the columns. This will represent the titles on the columns. And we define those where? Within the table head section. We define those within the table head section. Okay? Next, we have the table body. The table body is where the actual content of the table goes. So we've said for each line item, we need to define it using a table row. For each line item, we need to define it using a table row. So we have table row there defined. And for each item within that row, we refer to that as table data, and we define it using the TD tag. TD represents table data. TD represents table data. TD represents table data. So we are going to define an item for each of the above columns. So let me copy this. Those are 6. 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are 6. So for the name, let me just use people here. The guys who are busy texting on the chat box. And Elisa. So we can give here Max. Just do 2. Yeah, copy that. And over 1. Just modify this. And for your footer section, the footer section is basically identical to the header. The table footer and the table header are just basically identical. They usually just contain the same information. They contain the same information. The only difference is the position. The head is at the top, the footer is at the bottom. So if you have a very large data set, then you might consider putting up the footer so that when someone is scrolling to the very bottom, they can have an idea of the different columns that the different data cells belong to. So I'll just copy this and paste it on the footer because ideally they are just the same. There's not much difference between a table footer and a table head. It is only the position. It is only the position. So I'll save that. I will save that and go back to my browser. Save that, go back to my browser, and there I have my list of marks with 2 learners. I have my list of marks with 2 learners here at the very bottom. But our table is not looking good, so let us set up a border. So on the table opening tag, we can define the border attribute and just set that to 1. Just set that to 1. And there we have a simple table. Listing 2 learners with their marks in different subjects: English, math, science, geography, and history. Let me copy this and paste it somewhere. For those of us who are too lazy to type. So I'll just copy the table. It's a good program I saw for testing. text. Yeah, so let me share this right here. So you can have access to the table. You can get the table right from there. Can get the table right from there. Can access that and get the table right from there if you do not want to type. So that is how you would embed a table on your web page. You can define as many columns and rows as you wish, depending on what you want to display. Maybe something I left out that we can add is a title for the table. So for titles for the table, we add a caption tag. So I can say this is called exam results. We add a caption tag for the table right after the table opening tag. And it will be displayed just above the table. Yeah, so that is how you embed a table. Remember, this can be as many as possible, as many as you want. The columns and the rows, they can be as many as you want. It can be as many as you want. Yeah, so if you've been able to successfully display a table, please, by the show of thumbs up, I would like to see. Thank you, Bakita, Evelyn, Dennis, Adriano, Arnold, Natalie, Fidel, Godswill, Andile, Cleanat, Martin. Very, very nice. Very nice. Very good. Very good. Very, very good. So I've shared the link to the table data that I have used. So let me just share the entire code for anyone who would like it. Let me share the entire code. You can get the code from here if you would want to. It's the entire code of what we've done since the beginning. Yeah. So that is HTML tables. Remember, we are not yet styling. We just want to understand, how do we structure these elements? How do we define them? How do we embed them? Okay. So I believe everyone has been able to do so. We can then proceed to our final concept of the day in regards to advanced HTML, and that is how do you as a developer collect user input? How do you as a developer collect user input? And you can achieve that by the use of forms. You can achieve that by the use of forms. You can achieve that by the use of HTML forms. To collect user input, we use HTML forms. So, and how do we do that? We do that through the use of text fields, input fields such as radio buttons, check boxes, drop down select boxes, text areas, and buttons. So all those are form elements that you can use to collect user input. And to start us off, we have the form tag. We have the form tag. This is the tag that surrounds every other form element in the event that you want to collect user input. We start off with the form tag. So the form tag has two very important attributes. Although we are not going to use them now, I would like just to do high-level overview of these attributes. We have one known as the action and the second one known as the method. These are very, very important attributes. The action and the method. So, starting with the action attribute on the form element, this one is used to specify the location or the URL where your data will be transmitted to once a form is submitted. So I'm sure you've all interacted with forms. So if you've ever registered online, if you've ever logged in on a website or a web service online, then you've definitely interacted with a form. Okay, so that one is used to collect user input. And when you click on submit or register or login, that form data that you have inputted is usually transmitted somewhere for further processing or for storage. So this action attribute, this is where you will specify where that data will be transmitted to. Okay, the location where the data will be transmitted to. And then we have the method. We have the method. We have the method. We have the method. This method now specifies how that data will be transmitted. How that data will be transmitted. So there are different transmission methods when it comes to submitting forms. Unfortunately, we'll not be going through that today. That one is a bit more advanced when we'll get to see how we'll be interacting with the backend. But for today, we just cover that high-level overview. High-level overview. So those are two very important attributes when it comes to the form element. When it comes to the form element. Now we can start defining our input fields. We can start defining our input fields. And when you're using a form, you need to label those input fields. Otherwise, your users will not know what they are. They need to input or define on the form. So we use a label tag. We use a label tag to identify those input fields. And the label tag takes up the four attributes. The four attributes in this case is just used to, I can say, match up a label to its input field. So a label will always correspond to a specific input field. So for example, let us do a registration form. Let us do a registration form for your school, maybe. Okay, a registration form for your school. So you can start with full names. You can start with full names. And for the for attribute, I will explain why I've put that one once we are through with the input text field. So for the input text field, we use the input tag. We use the input tag, and this is a self-closing tag, so no need for a closing tag. It is a void element. We use the input tag, and then the type attribute. This is where we specify that this is a text input field. And then we'll need an ID attribute and a name attribute. At the very least, we need those two. So we defined an ID attribute last week as a unique identifier of a HTML element on the web page. This identifies this particular element on this particular web page. It is a unique identifier, just like your national ID or your school ID or your passport. It identifies you someplace uniquely. There's no one else with an ID like yours. So that is the purpose of this particular attribute. And for the ID, we are going to use that, and also for the name. So for the name, it is also used to identify not to identify an element. The name is used to identify the actual data. So once this data is transmitted to where it will be finally processed and stored, you need to identify that data. So that is the purpose of these name attributes. It is the one that identifies that data when it is transmitted. Okay, so please note the difference. ID identifies the element within the web page. Name identifies the data when it is transmitted. Okay. Another very common attribute here is the placeholder. Is the placeholder. This is a very common attribute. So this one simply just provides a hint to the user on what is expected of them to enter on that particular field. Just providing a hint. So for the full name, you can simply say, enter your full names. Yeah. Can just simply say something like that. As simple as that. Another attribute that you might come across is the required attribute. The required attribute. So this one simply specifies that if you want to submit this form, you must fill this particular field. So if you want a form to be filled and not be optional, you need to define this attribute on the fields or input elements that you feel are compulsory. Okay, so that is the required attribute. So we have the full name, that is the text field. We can do, let us do a line break. Let us do a line break. Oh no. Hii stima, kwani nishinde ikipotea? Yeah, my apologies for that. I lost my internet for short while. Yeah, we can continue. So I've just done a line break using the break tag. This is also a void element, so it doesn't need any closing tag. And next, I think we will do radio buttons. We can do radio buttons. So start with the label, start with the label, start with the label. So I can do one for gender. I'll do one for gender. Gender. And I'll still use the input tag. I'll still use the input tag, but for the type, I will use radio. I will use radio for the type. I'll use radio for the type, and then I can do name. This should be gender, sorry. Can do name for gender. And since radio buttons do not have a value attached to them, we need to specify the value using the value attribute. So this is male. Start with male. Copy that, paste it there, and then I can do female. Female. That is for the gender. Can do another pick. So that is our text input, radio button. We can do checkboxes. We can do checkboxes. Can do checkboxes. So start with the label again. Start with the label again for the checkbox. For the checkbox, I can do languages. For the checkbox, I can do languages. So for attribute, very important. For attribute, very important. And then we'll do input. Type. This is checkbox. We have a name here. Can do English. No, name is languages, sorry. Value is English. Value is English, and then do English there. So you can do Swahili. That is for our checkbox. Next, we can do a drop down. Can do a drop down select box for the country. You can do select. Select is the tag that is used to define a drop down. So, forgot the label. I need to start with the label. Very important. I need to start with the label. So this will be country. Country. And for the items on the drop down, we use the option tag. We use the option tag. So the first one is usually a default one. You can just say select country. And then for our others, You can actually list the countries and give them a value. So I'll just do 5 countries, starting from the south. Um, yeah. To East Africa. Go to still East Africa. We have Rwanda. Then we can go to West Africa. We have Nigeria. And Ghana. So that is our drop-down box, select box. And we haven't given this a name and an ID. So the name is country. ID is also country. That is our select box. And we can add what? We can add what? Finally, we can finish up with buttons. So there are 2 ways in which you can embed buttons on a form. One is by use of the input type. You can use input type. So if it's just a regular button, you can use the option for button. If it is a submit button, one that will make the form to be submitted, you can use submit. Or if you want a button for resetting the form so that it clears all form inputs, then you can use reset. So here I'll do submit. I use the submit button, and value, I can say register. Close that. Can do another one. The second way in which you can embed a button is by the use of the button tag. You can use the button tag, and I can also do a type here, and I can say this is a reset button. So I can say cancel. I can call that button cancel. Let me save my file and we go back to the browser. Go back to our browser. And there we have our form. There we have our form with at least one input text field, a radio button, checkboxes, a drop-down box, and buttons for submission and resetting the form. Buttons for submission and resetting the forms. Remember, we set this one as required, so this is what happens when you try to submit the form. Please fill out this field because we defined the field as required. It is compulsory to fill that field. You have your checkboxes. Checkboxes, you can select more than one. Radio buttons, you can only select one. So let me just share this once again. Let me share this once again, the form. Where's the code? Share this on the chat box. Yeah, there you go. If you need a copy of the form. There you go if you need a copy of the form. So, any question? Any question up to that bit? Any question up to that bit? Otherwise, you can just confirm if you've been successful with a thumbs up. The question is here on the chat. The code is here on the chat box. It's a link to the code. I haven't shared this. Sorry. Link to the actual code. So there you go. There you go. You can access that. There you go. Or let me just copy the entire thing. I think it would be best to copy the entire thing. Just copy the entire thing. It's the entire code from beginning to the very end. Beginning to the very end. So remember, if your image is not showing, what is the reason? The source attribute. And remember, don't load this code on your page and expect, let me just load the first image. Don't expect the first image to load because you do not have this image anywhere in your machine. So definitely it will not load on your side. And this first image will definitely not load on your side if you are copying my code, because this one resides on my local machine. This first image, it resides on my local machine. So there we are, there we are. There we are. The input checkboxes are actually closed. If you look very closely, they are actually closed. They are closed. Yeah, so there you go. That is how you would embed a form and collect user input from your users. Let me see, any questions here? I thought it was easy. Now the pressure is getting too much. The pressure is getting too much. Mm. And copy a URL from the chat section. You can copy a URL from the chat section. I am a software engineer now. True, it's good. It's good that you're seeing yourself as a tech billionaire. Eh? Yeah, your dreams are very, very valid. Very, very valid. And we are just beginning. So definitely more to learn. Definitely more to learn. You're still not there yet, but you will get there eventually. You will get there eventually. Pushing your code to JIT. I will refer you back to your software engineering classes. I'm sure you went through You went through Git and GitHub in your software engineering classes, unless you did not attend. Unless you did not attend, that will be very, very unfortunate. That would be very, very unfortunate. So there are two ways in which you can push your code changes to GitHub. One, you can either use the easiest is just using the easiest is using GitHub, the GitHub website. This is the most easiest way of pushing code. It's the most easiest way of pushing code on GitHub. So let me just create a new repository here. This is week 2, session 3. Week 2, session 3. Make it public, add a README file. I've shared the entire code. Let me just place it here so that everyone has a copy. So you create a new repository if you are doing something private or public. This is the most easiest way of adding or pushing your code to GitHub or Git. So you come to add file. So you can create a new file or upload already created files from your local machine. So let me upload today's work. Now you have access to the image I used. You have access to the image I used. Your commit message here, I can say initial commit, added index file, added image file, and simply commit your changes. This is the most easiest way you can upload your files to GitHub. And there you have your files. Okay, so here is the repository for those ones who would like the complete code, including the image. That one is the most easiest way you can do that. Method number 2 is by using your terminal. By using your terminal. By using your terminal. That is method number 2. By using the terminal. So by using the terminal, you first begin by cloning your repository. So you simply copy the repository URL. Come to your terminal. And use the command git clone, and then you paste your URL. After you've done this command, a copy of the repository will be made available on your local machine. So once it is made available, you can simply change to that directory. Once you've done your changes, Once you've done your changes, you can simply git add for any necessary or all files that have been changed. And then you do your commit message. So I've not made any changes, so there's nothing to commit here. And after you've done that, you do git push origin. Then you do the main branch, git push origin main. As simple as that. And any changes that you have made will simply be pushed to the repository and you'll be done. So those are the two ways in which you can upload and commit your changes to a repository. Okay. Yeah, so I think I'm done with this session. I think I'm done with this session. Unless there are any question. You do not need to, it is not compulsory you use the terminal. I've just given two ways. So either way will still work. Either way will still work. Either way will still work. But once you interact with the terminal, it is the most easiest and the most fastest way of pushing your code to a repository. Yeah? But it will become second nature once you advance in your skills. It will become second nature. You'll just be doing these commands 1, 2, 3. You're already done. You've pushed your code. Yeah. So I think that's it for me. Unless there is any question. Maybe I can avail some videos. If you're not in the WhatsApp group, we have a WhatsApp group for the web module and specifically for the web module. If you ask any questions about Python, database, or startups, I will not be able to answer. I am not an instructor in those modules. So the group I'm about to share is specifically for the web module. You ask questions related to the web module, and I will share the answers. If you ask a question related to database, I may not be able to assist you, okay? So let me just share that. Let me share the link here on the chat box. So you can use that to reach out. Yeah, we apologize for issues on the LMS. There was a system update that was done. We did not anticipate some of the issues that you are facing, so we apologize for that inconvenience. It is something that is constantly being addressed. So our sincere apologies for that. The group has reached its limit. Okay. How many guys are you? Uh, okay. I think I'll do a Telegram link. Yeah, if the group is full, I'll do a Telegram link. I think Telegram does a much higher limit. Yeah, it will be shared. It will be shared. I'll make sure you get the link. So yeah, so if there's no more question, then I think I will end the session there. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your time. It was a real pleasure. Thank you for your questions. Yes, the assignments have deadlines. I will put up the deadlines tonight. So deadlines for assignment is just 1 week. 1 week is more than adequate for those very, very simple assignments. Okay. And as we continue, I would like each one of us to start creating a portfolio. Start creating a portfolio for yourself. A portfolio website. Just look into what is a portfolio website, how it looks like. So that by the end of this session, each and every one of us will have a portfolio website giving insights to who you are as an individual. So start thinking around that. So far we've done structure. So far we've done structure. You can have a simple structure set up for your portfolio, and as we continue, you keep on adding stuff. I think that would be very, very good practice for you. So think around that. Think around that. Otherwise, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your time. Yes, I will consider adding time because the LMS is behaving, but not too much time. I don't want to encourage I don't want to encourage giving so much time so that people they tend to relax. Okay. So have a very good evening, and I will be seeing you next week. We'll have a very interesting session where we'll get to interact with styling techniques using CSS. So I hope to see you next week for that session. It will be very, very exciting. Thank you so much and have a very good night.